The small village of Bethany was quiet, save for the muted sounds of wailing and mourning. Outside the home of Mary and Martha, a steady stream of villagers came to pay their respects. The house, usually filled with laughter and warmth, now felt heavy with sorrow. Inside, Mary sat in a corner, her face buried in her hands, while Martha paced anxiously, glancing toward the road, hoping for the arrival of Jesus. Lazarus, their beloved brother, had been a kind and generous man, well loved by the villagers. His sudden illness and death had left a void that seemed impossible to fill. The sisters had sent for Jesus days ago, confident that he would come and heal Lazarus. But now, 4 days after his burial, they could not understand why their friend had delayed. The news of Jesus' arrival spread quickly through the village. Martha, unable to contain her emotions, rushed out to meet him. The dusty road leading into Bethany was lined with mourners, their curious eyes following her as she approached Jesus. "Lord," she said, her voice breaking, "if you had been here, my brother would not have died." Her tone was a mixture of grief and faith, as if clinging to the hope that even now, Jesus might do something miraculous. Jesus looked at her with compassion, his eyes filled with understanding. "Your brother will rise again," he said gently. Martha nodded, tears streaming down her face. "I know he will rise again in the resurrection at the last day." Jesus stepped closer, his voice firm yet comforting. "I am the resurrection and the life. The one who believes in me will live, even though they die." Martha stared at him, the weight of his words settling over her. She whispered, "I believe that you are the Messiah, the Son of God." As Martha returned to the house to fetch Mary, the mourners whispered among themselves, their curiosity piqued. Mary, her face pale and tear-streaked, rose and went to Jesus. Falling at his feet, she sobbed, "Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died." The sight of her sorrow moved Jesus deeply. He looked around at the mourners and asked, "Where have you laid him?" "Come and see, Lord," they replied. As they led Jesus to the tomb, he wept, a moment that revealed his deep love for Lazarus and his shared grief with those around him. The tomb was a simple cave carved into the hillside, its entrance sealed with a heavy stone. The crowd gathered around, their murmurs hushed as Jesus stood before the tomb. "Take away the stone," he commanded. Martha hesitated, her practical nature surfacing. "But Lord, by this time there is a bad odor, for he has been there 4 days." Jesus turned to her, his voice steady and reassuring. "Did I not tell you that if you believe, you will see the glory of God?" At his nod, the stone was rolled away, and the crowd recoiled at the expected stench. But Jesus, raising his eyes to heaven, prayed aloud. "Father, I thank you that you have heard me. I knew that you always hear me, but I said this for the benefit of the people standing here, that they may believe that you sent me." Then, with a voice that carried authority and power, he cried out, "Lazarus, come out." The crowd froze, their eyes fixed on the dark entrance of the tomb. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, faintly at first, they heard the shuffling of feet. Gasps rippled through the crowd as Lazarus emerged, still wrapped in burial cloths, his face covered. "Take off the grave clothes and let him go," Jesus said, his tone calm but commanding. As the burial cloths were removed, Lazarus blinked against the sunlight, his face alive with color and astonishment. He looked at his sisters, who rushed to embrace him, their laughter and tears mingling. The crowd erupted in amazement, some falling to their knees, others praising God. The news of the resurrection spread like wildfire, reaching Jerusalem and beyond. Many who witnessed the miracle believed in Jesus, their hearts filled with awe. But not everyone was pleased. In the shadows of the temple, the Pharisees and chief priests convened, their faces grim. "If we let him go on like this, everyone will believe in him," one of them said. They saw Jesus not as a savior, but as a threat to their authority.
But Jesus, undaunted by the danger that lay ahead, continued to preach and teach, revealing the glory of God to all who would listen. And Lazarus, now fully restored to life, became a living testament to Jesus' power and authority, a reminder to all of the divine nature of the one who had raised him from the dead.